Hello, everyone. Welcome on another episode of Tap Tap Cast. You may know me as
And
Inadequance.
I am Lundberger, and I'm super excited for this one. We have someone on who is, I wouldn't say like super involved with PvP yet, but she's really starting to be more lately. We have the one, the only, Zoe2Dots.
Hello, good day, champions. How we doing?
Good day.
Hi,
Yeah.
welcome in.
That was the cutest good day I've ever heard.
It was my attempt at it. I also think like
Oh, I love
sometimes
it.
I'm like, if I spell it out like good eye, then
Yeah.
I can do it like good eye.
I love it. Never change. Never change. Never change. I love it.
All right, Zoe, I think most of us know you, but for those who don't, can you give yourself a short introduction?
Yeah, for sure. My name's Zoe. I'm from Australia, and I guess majority-wise, what I do online with Pokemon is I do Pokemon Go videos. So a bit of travel stuff, playing the game, taking people all around the world, or in my backyard around Australia. I PvP in secret. I PvP on the side. So thankfully, I didn't drop it in the beginning. Like I know a lot of people have in the community, but stuck with it. I just don't post much about it, I guess. But definitely big fan, big supporter of the PvP community as well. And yeah, that's kind of me. I do other variety stuff for streaming Pokemon, but we'll be hosting in some capacity for Go for EUIC, which is pretty cool. Which is I guess going to be the all right. We got to make sure we know all the things PvP GBL related, but we'll be right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's super exciting. Well, when we saw it, I thought it was actually really funny too, because when your name was announced, people were like, Zoe, is that Zoe2Dots? And then someone was like, oh my gosh, is she Zoe2Dots? Because the two dots above the.
Yeah. I'm like, this has to be the way that everyone figures out what the name means. Like,
It's perfect.
if they didn't know before. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, you've been around for quite a long time. You're probably one of the most well known names in Pokemon Go overall. And I know that you kind of described what you did, but how did you get started in it? Like, what really initially drove you to start making Pokemon Go videos?
I guess for a while I had wanted to do something, in the online gaming space, but with Australian internet being garbage and not having the resources, like I didn't have a proper PC, I didn't have like things for like streaming, like you didn't even have the upload speeds for streaming. It was like 1 meg uploads, physically impossible to live stream in Australia for a long time unless I don't know, maybe if you had some magic internet connection. But when Pokemon Go was announced to be coming out, I was like, well, I have a camera, I have a phone. It's upload speeds are going to take literally overnight to upload a 10-minute video, but we can live with that. It wasn't too, time critical necessarily back then. And I was like, well, if I was ever going to do something, it probably has to be now because I can and I want to. So started making videos. I was preparing my first video because we didn't really have a date for when Go was going to come out. And then that same week that I was getting this video ready, like the game dropped that Friday. And I'm like, okay, like start uploading, like let's go. But yeah, it's kind of just been what I've been doing ever since, I guess. I was doing full-time work as a graphic designer as well, like when I started. And then I guess eventually was a point where I was kind of like, well, I would like to do more of this and less of this. So dove into the YouTube thing.
That's awesome. So you basically decided to make Pokemon Go content before it dropped, like just when it was announced.
When it was being announced, I was kind of like, how, I was kind of thinking in the way of like, how could this be possible to make things for? So I started like looking on YouTube and of course found Nick's channels, trainer tips. And I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's like making videos about what they think's going to happen in the game and how it's going to work. And, he has the beta access in the game as well. I'm like, oh, that's really like, okay, yeah, I could definitely see how this would physically translate of like, here's me and my phone and where I am in the world and, putting the two together. I'm like, oh, I'd already done like some YouTube videos, like kind of vlog stuff for traveling. When I had gone to Japan and like, I'm like, here's the Pokemon Center, a little tour of that, like those little bits and pieces. So I had a bit of a concept of that side of it. and then actually seeing it like, oh, okay, this would function of like person game, like go and do the thing. That's kind of like solidified for me. Like, oh yeah, I should start like. I was basically making like a channel intro when the game dropped. So I was a bit behind, but we caught up. Yeah.
You say you're behind, but you were like way ahead of like, yeah, besides like trainer tips, like I can't think of anyone who's really been around since the beginning of Pokemon Go.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's definitely, there's a lot that jumped on really early days, but I think, people like Mystic 7 or Reversal and that they already had established channels doing other things. So I think for them it was kind of like, oh, cool, here's this other, game that I like. Or I think for Brandon, he had no clue. I think it was his first ever Pokemon game was Pokemon Go. So for him, it was like everything is new and exciting, which is amazing. So I think, yeah, it's there's a few of us that kind of like joined along the way or started early and then, all met each other, which is great because everyone's been legends. But yeah, it's been fun.
So you say about the internet not being great in Australia. Is that like still the case? Because when it came out, that was like seven years ago.
It's better.
Oh, it's better now.
It's significantly better. It's not as good as it could be, but it was atrocious. Like it took 10 hours to upload a 10-minute video.
And that was only like 7 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Then, right?
That's nuts.
It's specifically upload speeds. It was always like a very big, and it still is a thing when people are like, this is the best internet, get our plan. And it's like, yes, what's your upload speeds though? Like your downloads are, and it very much was that, where it's like download was functional, upload was like non-existent. Yeah. So thankfully that's kind of fixed, but yeah.
Yeah, you guys are kind of uphill all the way for Pokemon Go because not only sounds like you have bad upload speeds, you're also our guinea pigs over half the time for when any time there's new releases. I'm always just waiting to see the posts about like, okay, they forgot to turn this on, or okay, this didn't work and this didn't start on time.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's any benefit to being the first, theoretically, to be getting this stuff?
I mean, I guess it makes sense in terms of the time zones. Like when people say like, let's just go back to before it was the time zone thing, I kind of like, I cringe a little bit because I just know like people forget at the best of times when events are coming up, what the details are for events. Like a lot of the time I'll post a video and the comments are, oh my God, I forgot this was happening. Thank goodness I'm, 2 hours behind you. Or even people like, oh my God, I saw your notification. I'm in Australia too. Time for me to head outside sort of thing. So I think if it was to go back to that format, like the early days Com Day, where it was, Australia, Japan, everyone kicking off at the same time, and then America gets it at 1 p.m. the previous day, and then Europe's somewhere at 4 p.m. It's like, I think it's just far more confusing, and it's just going to lead to more frustration in a way. I wish the solution was just to have someone on the ground in New Zealand. So like, I know that when things are tested in the game, it's more than likely probably tested with a limited number of staff. So you're not going to find weird things like a raid lobby cap with 30,000 people being an issue until there's that many people doing it. But I think having someone that's like there, ready to respond to a community of, for any of the early time zones, not just New Zealand, but like they're the I guess biggest population that hits it first. To be able to respond and fix it in 5 minutes would be big thumbs up. But yeah, I guess it would become sort of that role. I think a lot of APAC has kind of taken on, we're like, oh, we're the guinea pigs, but at the same time, it's like, have fun, everyone. Like, we hope this information's it's helping other people, but yeah, it's a weird spot. It's a weird spot to be in, I'd say. It'd be amazing if someone's listening, if you guys want to do a special event for, New Zealand, Fiji, Tonga, those first couple of time zones, little special something as a sorry would be, it wouldn't go amiss. But yeah.
I think that can be difficult sometimes, right? I think that's something that we had in Europe as well, often like at tournaments, that they forgot to turn the bonuses on tournaments. And then if you want to let someone on Niantic side know, they're like 9 hours behind us, so they might very well be asleep. That's something that's a little bit tough with time zones. Do you think it would be more beneficial to like avoid or prevent these kind of issues if everything would start at I think Niantic is like located in like San Francisco or so.
Mhm.
That everything starts at PST time or something.
If it was like an everything all at once sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Possibly. I guess then there's just going to be. It depends if the events then. I guess because they still run for the same total time, but if the playable time lines up for everyone, like would that balance out?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Because it might start at like 3 a.m. for someone, right?
Yeah.
They're obviously not going to be happy about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's a weird one. I think because there's a website that tracks all of the all of the New Zealand broken events. I think look, it's been a couple of weeks, I think, since I've had to flag anything. So my fingers are crossed. I hope that things are improving. I think the couple of little weird ones that have happened this year have been so far nothing major. I think there was a few weird ones where it was like, oh, what was it? The Sandshrew Spotlight Hour started as Pikachu for something for 5 minutes, and it's like that's not detrimental necessarily. Depends on your preference for Pokemon, I guess. And a few little bit like, oh, the raid boss was the wrong thing, but it was like Kyurem, and it's like, well, that's pretty fun to raid, I guess. Like that's all right. Like again, depends on your preference. So far, I don't think there's anything too catastrophic this year. Fingers crossed. Don't jinx it. Like, I hope that that's the continued trend, is that it's not like the shiny's not on, the raid's not on, the thing's broken. Like that'd be great. So.
You know, when you just said this, it reminded me, and this is just eventing. This is not necessarily focused on that region, but I was in Fiji a couple years ago, and I was so excited because it was before Relicanth was like really global at that point.
Yeah.
But there was an event going on, like the Kanto event, and I didn't catch one while I was there because the event the only things that were spawning were the first generation. And something similar happened to me when I was in the Canary Islands when I was hunting for Tropius. And there was I caught one at the airport, and that was it for the week. And I get it that there are special events that go on that obviously you want to try to catch stuff, but I think that there's got to be some sort of give and take where if there is something that's only local to a region, that you should still be able to get a decent amount of them.
It's something that I've flagged consistently, especially because of things like I would land somewhere for an event. It's like, we're in France, it's Klefki time. And, I think Tom and Brandon were there 2 days before, and they're like, there's Klefki everywhere, it's going to be great when you get here. And I landed, and the event had started as I landed. And suddenly I'm like, hey guys, is this like the same Klefki you were seeing on the nearby where it's like the furthest possible thing? And they're like, no, so I'm flagging it again to be like, hey, when these events are starting, especially when people have, traveled for a Go Fest and they're going to take their time to slowly leave, try and get those regionals. I think it is unintentional. I think they have gotten better at, I don't know if there's like a checklist that they do, and they've gotten better at, maybe there's that first hour when the event starts, but then the regionals kind of kick back in. And I have noticed that when I've been traveling where I'm like, am I going to have to flag this again? And then a few hours later, you can see definitely more of the shadows on the nearby. But I think early days, it was just quite literally pushed to the wilderness. Like I had the same thing with Corsola. We had driven about 10 hours north for like a cousin's birthday. And then I'm like, well, Corsola only spawns like 4 hours above that. So like quickly on that Saturday morning, let's drive 4 hours up through traffic to get Corsola. But there's an event. And this was this is 2017, I think, like early days. No one's got connections to message someone at Niantic. And it's like I had messaged that community being like, how abundant's course? And they're like, mate, here's a screenshot. Like this dude's everywhere. And I'm just like sweating, just watching, like we've got 1 hour in this city before we have to get back for this birthday sort of thing. And I'm like, please just spawn one. Managed to get one. But it was like, there was very much that where it's like, come on, like you're special to this area. You should be guaranteed to find. I totally agree with that.
I was thinking, when am I going back there?
Relicanth's hard.
Relicanth is hard,
It is, like even when it's not an event for Relicanth, it's so weather and biome dependent, I've noticed. It's like be near the water and hope for cloudy weather because it's so, I don't know, it's like seems very committed to that biome. It's a hard one to find.
Only, right?
Like New Zealand, Tonga, Fiji, like that general slice of the islands. Like I think any of the Pacific islands in that cluster have it as well. Yeah.
You probably have everything in your decks, though, right? At this point,
No,
no.
not yet.
What are you missing? That's actually in the game.
Thankfully, we should be coming up, I guess, for August, Hawaii. I'm missing Comfey. I've never been. I've never had a layover line up to get Comfey. And it's one. Sorry, it's one that I refuse to trade for because it's cute and I want to catch it myself. There's plenty of stuff that just haven't evolved, and that's the main regional would be Comfey, I think.
I haven't missed a mine for you.
I always love regionals. I always love trading regionals.
Yeah. I want to ask about maybe a sensitive topic. The OCIC.
Crazy in Australian, yes.
Yeah, I was actually very excited for that, especially as myself getting further into the caster.
Same.
Hoping that maybe, I might get to that region and then maybe take a short, even extended holiday to get some Relicant, right? But unfortunately, it's gone. I don't know for how long, but how do y'all feel about that?
I think everyone is just like that kick in the guts sort of feeling. I'm especially bummed out because the date for OCIC last year got changed last minute. So I was already going to be in the Las Vegas event for that. And it got changed to that same weekend. So I was like, I had planned, is what it is, hotel and whatever else to be down in Sydney. I'm like, awesome. It's only like a 2-hour drive from where I live. And it's finally got something on a home turf, like the production, like I had no idea, but I was just like seeing tweets from the casters being like, oh, first coffee in Australia. And I'm like, wait, hold on. You're actually like there's stuff happening for it, like proper. And then seeing all the photos as it was all getting set up and the full on production, like amazing, stoked. It looked amazing. It went fantastically. Everything that I heard, everyone that went had a great time, like proper showing as well for displaying the Aussie talent, to then it being like, it was pretty brutal. I think the assumption, I guess, from us is that it was, expense related, where it's like, okay, if we can either do one big one in Sydney, but then we have to like lose 2 other locations sort of thing. But then it's sort of like there's got to be other locations in Australia that are still, adequate but not as expensive as Sydney. Like Sydney is stupid expensive. But there's plenty of other locations in my mind that could have feasibly housed one. And I'm not sure if it's looking at it from the perspective of like a Europe or an America where, Europe's very interconnected, but you've got multiple different locations for different regions. Or if you're thinking of like America, where it's like, well, someone's not going to fly from New York to California to participate. And it's like, well, in Australia, yes, you would. You would fly from Perth to Sydney to participate. Or, I mean, like, obviously it's better for Perth to have their own one. It's going to be the cheapest anyway for a regional anyway. It's the most expensive for them. But there's not a question about, like, if someone would fly to Brisbane from Sydney, from Newcastle to Brisbane to Melbourne, like that major cluster, like we're very spread apart. Like me driving to Brisbane, as I said, is 10-hour drive. It's a 1-hour flight. Maybe $100. You get a nice deal, get a little cheeky flight deal. Like people would do it. Like, we're used to it, I guess, because we are so spread out, like to doing the big trek out. I think it's just rough that, and maybe it was just timing, whatever else, to not find an alternative location that fit the budget or whatever else. But yeah, I think there's definitely that feeling of just not being included. Because as it stands as well, the regionals, none of our regionals get streamed. If you attend a regionals, there's not even a screen to see gameplay.
Really? Oh, that sucks.
Anything for nothing, for none of the like VGC, TCG, nothing. We're only lucky in that the Go judges pretty much know us all at this point, and they know us to not be disruptive. So they let us kind of hover like gremlins with enough space behind to like watch screens or to film someone's screen so that we can document it or, participate. And we're like, silently cheering along and like watching. We're also very lucky that the contenders aren't like, could you back off, please? Like everyone's kind of used to this, like that energy at this point, which is good. But for any of the other, VGC, TCG, if you go even have a look, it's kind of like, no, give them space because it's such a like tight quarters, location. And then there's people that have, went to OCIC last year and then they, buy a spectator pass for this year for Melbourne, and they get in, they're like, where is everything? Like, where's the? I can't even spectate.
Really, right?
Yeah, it should be called like a parents and guardians pass in Australia, honestly, because it's not you can't spectate.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely that feeling of like, I think on multiple levels I see it, because it's like we're not getting to display the talent that Oceania's got. People, these amazing skills just aren't on display. And then I think it also is a detriment to the on the ground communities, because I think part of like, the magic of Worlds and stuff is you see all the different games and you're getting invested in, like, people over there are cheering. You're like, well, I don't know what's going, I don't know how VGC works, but I'm going to watch this for a bit and be like, oh, this is getting really clutch. And you might see that competitor later and you're like, oh, good job, buddy. That was an amazing game. Or it kind of brings people cross platform to appreciate, and to meet people and, make communities. I think it's very pocketed still in Oceania because we don't get to celebrate each other or even just, spectate. So yeah, I think the loss of OCIC is rough. I would hope that at least going forward there's just chuck it up on a little projector screen, like a little something, like, because I think Australia is very much getting the forgotten child feeling at the moment. Yeah,
I know. I was talking with some of the PvP players in Australia as well, because they're really hoping that at least maybe they could follow in Europe's footsteps in a way where it's just like, there was a year of unofficial streams, and even before that for VG and for the card game, there was like unofficial streams for those for actually quite a few years. Where people were just allowed to do this. And I know that a couple of them are looking into it. I hope that it's something that can end up coming to fruition. But at this stage, I can imagine that, of course, you feel kind of left out because you're watching all these others. And I, even as a caster, I was given a little bit of crap because I totally didn't mention Jakobovic, who was our other like 2-time in one season regional champion. I mentioned Dunebug, and then I just like completely like, again, and that's completely on me.
Yeah, because there's no coverage. It's only whoever's on the ground tweeting it. And if that doesn't get picked up in, other people seeing it and liking it and sharing it, then there's no way that it's going to get to everyone that wants to know that information, for sure. Yeah. It's it's wild though as well, because like so many of the Aussie regionals now, like, again, we're super lucky that it's like so newcomer friendly. Like everyone's really super chill, easy to get along with. You could show up and not have a clue and just go, hello, could someone help me make a team? And people would help you immediately. Like you'd have the best players in Australia giving tips and advice and like, and
then others
sweet.
Convincing you to put a Wilmer on your team.
Look, that's I signed up for that. I signed up for that treatment. I asked Steve. That's my own fault. But like genuinely, and then it's like, but you see like the regulars that are there, that it's become to this point where every single Aussie regionals, you've got like a top 10 of people that have been to Worlds. Like the top 4 finals are these, multiple regional winners / top 20, top 10 Worlds players. And you're like, dude, this match is ridiculous. As soon as it gets to the top 4, top 5, I think it is, not a single match is done in the like 2 and done. It's all 3 matches, all 5 matches, because it's take one, you take one. It's like down to a fast move tense. And I'm like, I wish people could see this because it's ridiculously high caliber. And I'm just like there with this zoom lens, like trembling. So like, please someone win, because I'm like trying to document it, but they're just like, they just don't stop. Like it's phenomenal. But yeah, I want more people to see that. But maybe it's going to work in our favor. Maybe we're going to roll up to Worlds with all these crazy high level players and no one's going to have seen anything. There's no streams. They've got they don't know how they play. Secret tactics.
It's what I always looked forward to with OCSC and LAIC, because those are players that I know through grassroots or Go Battle League that I know that are so freaking good.
Mm.
But that's like the only times that you actually saw them on like an official production stream.
Yeah.
Currently Copac in Latin America does have streams often, but it's like zoomed up cams. It's not the same, it's
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
just put a
yeah.
cam here in front of someone on a table and
Yeah.
he plays the game. It doesn't look like
It's rough.
comparable to others, exactly.
Yeah.
Even though I do appreciate that it's at least being streamed.
Yeah.
And like I would love to see players like Valiant Fish, like Rick
Yes.
Flareon, players that
Yes.
make it definitely to Worlds.
Yeah.
Jakovic, of course. Now I forget him again.
Yeah.
But like I know him, right? I talk to him
Yeah.
quite often actually, and the only way we actually got him on official broadcast was through a tweet.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Where it's like, sharing the post from Melbourne or Brisbane. Yeah. It's wild because it's funny as well because I've, not in a weird way, but like because I've just been hovering there with the close cam for so long, like on those players especially, they have such different styles of play and the note taking is different. Not that you can like read someone's mind through their thumb movements, but like when you see the hesitation or like the decision, like hovering over which of the charge moves and stuff versus when I assume they're feeling confident. They're like, no, I'm locking this in and this is the next play. But you can see like that vibe from each of the players and how they're so different in how they're thinking about the game or talking to them afterwards. And I'm like, how can you even remember exactly? Like they're playing out and telling you the whole game move for move. And I'm like, I'm like, my brain deletes the first Pokemon when it gets swapped. And I'm like, oh God, what did they have in the lead again?
Yeah, that's a common thing. That's a common thing amongst
battlers. They're just like perfectly, so if my one win condition was if I didn't, farm up this other back, oh my God, it's just phenomenal skill. And I wish that more people could see that because it's like, such high level plays, but all with different flavors, I guess, like different styles of play, which is really, really cool to see. Like once you get used to, seeing it. Yeah.
Do you feel that, because like most of Pokemon Go, I would say, does not really care about PvP. There's a small sliver of the pie that does, and then an even smaller sliver that probably even knows about the Show 6 Pick 3 tournaments rather than just like Go Battle League. I know that you've been covering it a little bit more on your channel and been going to these events, competing as well. How do these videos fare to your fans in comparison to the regular stuff that you like, your more weekly content stuff?
Honestly, just like to put it bluntly, like not nearly as, you could say like air quotes, good. If we're just talking like views or engagement or whatever, it is like visually you can see it gets less traction, less eyes on it, which is rough. I've even tried just a few different ways of like, I think for the Brisbane event, I more framed it around like, whoa, check out this crazy like shiny bonus that's happening at events. Like, because I believe there is, like we got 5 shinies in one weekend. It was ridiculous from the PvP spawns that get put on for the regionals. And even that, it was kind of like, as soon as people saw that it was PvP, it was like, we're kind of here a little bit, but not super invested.
They're here for you, but they're not necessarily.
Well, they're kind of like, oh, that was cool to see, but they're not going to necessarily then play it themselves. And then I guess for videos where it's just flat out PvP, it's less so. So I've kind of tried to just more for the most recent ones, like I guess I'm just kind of like putting myself there so that I can document everything again, because we don't have an official stream. We don't have like, even we can't get the screen recordings of the battles, just to be able to have, but they, for whatever reason, people running the events basically like, no, sorry. So it's kind of like basically making it so that there's some documentation for people, and I just give the whole footage to like just share it with all the PvP players, where I'm like, if you're in it, take your footage. If it's someone else's battle, like, like be ethical about it, whatever, but like feel free to use this however you want to share it and that sort of thing. But I have been trying to think of ways where I'm just like, how can we get more people either interested or at least supporting it, where you don't have to play it yourself, but you're cheering for your team, or you get a little Aussie, 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 some following along and kind of like seeing what's going on and seeing why it's a skill and things like that. And definitely, like, I think when I used to stream more PvP, there was a bit more people asking questions and getting a bit more involved. I'd be like, hey, queue up. I'm still only, I've forgotten to do my battles this season, so I'm rank 10. Like, I haven't even got to 20 yet. So I jump in, we might verse each other. Or, trying to encourage people to use Pokemon where it's like, you don't have to pick the 3 most meta things, because if you're using 3 things that you don't like, I believe you're not going to play as well, because I've got no love or affinity for Medicham. I've never used a Medicham, so that's like my team at the moment. I've got Lurantis, Lickitung, and Dedenne. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff we come up against that's going to destroy me, but at the current like climb to 20, it's fine. I'm getting 3 out of 5s. It's surviving. Like, but I'm having fun because I like these little dudes. They're a bit goofy. No one knows that, Lurantis has got superpower or whatever it is. So you just like jump, bail out, and like, have some fun with it. And I think you're going to perform significantly better than trying to force, I'm going to play like the top players and pick these like meta teams. But yeah, I think it's still a weird zone. I would like there to be more, more people.
I like the way you think there, that you should use what you like to use. That's the same way I think. If I don't like to use a particular Pokemon, it's just not gonna grow well on me, right?
Yeah.
I had the same thing kind of with Medicham. In one of the seasons before, it was on every single team, and it almost felt mandatory.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's like, here's my prescribed Medicham, here's my mandate.
Yeah. You have to. Yeah. Exactly. I
take
like
once per day with breakfast your Medicham. Like, oh, here it is. Okay. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Martini's been winning all these local cups and challenges with every single cup is a different Pokemon that's a shining.
Pokemon that I like, yeah. Como,
nice.
no one's using Como.
Greninja, Como, oh yeah.
Good. That's excellent though, because it's more fun. And then people are like, what does that have? What move does that even have? Like, it's more, I think it's more fun.
I think some fun out of it come also with the creativity, right? To make something work. I think that's all. If you're always using the same Pokemon, bringing the same Pokemon, and basically feel pressured to use those because everyone does. I think that might take away some fun. That maybe. I don't know. Have you been to a local tournament yet?
No, there was one yesterday that was close to me, but I was catching up with family, so I had to miss that one sadly. But we've only just started for March, so there was one last weekend as well, but it just was it last weekend? I think it just lined up that it also clashed with something, but that would have been like the closest one to me. So I guess the closest that we've had, realistically, is Sydney. It's about a 2-hour drive away. So hopefully, there's going to be plenty more, I believe, coming up for Australia, which has been great. I think there was this nervousness at the start for, where it's like, oh, it's coming. And then talking, a lot of the players, especially like Steve and Debbie, like being awesome about like talking to card shops that were attending at the regionals and being like, hey, are you guys going to run tournaments? And some places being like, it's not really like, is it going to be, worth it for them to host it, sort of thing? And then plenty of others who are absolutely keen to do it. So there's just been, in the little Discord group, just like, here's the pinned post and here's the next 5 coming up for this and the next 5 for this state and, X, Y, and Z. And some states are getting way more, which is great, especially if they're ones that aren't as accessible to get to a regional, or it's going to cost so much more for them to attend a regional. But yeah, it seems to all be kind of kicking along, which is good. I know that was like a big concern with getting local tournaments going, just because I think someone did the maths on it. Like, you would have to win. No, if you didn't win a regionals in Australia, you would have to place top 4 at all of them to get enough points to even.
Yeah, Steve made like a graph or something out of it.
It was something like that. It was like something super. Like, you would have to be super clutch to get to even get the points to do it if there was no locals, which is crazy because, again, if you had to fly to all of these accommodation to stay, like not even a guarantee that you're going to, get prize money to pay it back sort of thing. Like that's, so I'm glad that the locals have been kicking along pretty well.
Yeah, because I think the points were pretty cruel to get otherwise. I believe you have 3 or 4 regionals, and then you need 300 championship points. By winning one of them, you get 200.
Yeah.
And then top 4 is something like 100 to 130. So that means, you need to clutch top 4 like 3 times or something. That's not easy.
No. And again, like depending what I think Melbourne originally was about to be the same weekend as Taylor Swift. So everyone's looking at the flights and they're like, why are these flights $400 for no reason? Why is accommodation $1,000 for the cheapest hotel? Like what's going on? Thankfully it got changed. But like stuff like that could come up where it's like, I can't afford to fly to all 3 of these. Like that's not physically possible. Like, especially because one of them is in Perth. It's like this, again, it's the same distance as flying from California to New York, in like the straight line sort of thing. Perth to Sydney, it's massive. So it's like, it's not cheap often either, depending what day that you go. So it's either, the Perth players are having to spend twice to go to Brisbane and go to Melbourne, or then the East Coast is having to spend this massive flight out to Perth. I'm glad that the locals everything seems to be functioning. Everyone's got happy smiley faces in the group photos. So I'm seeing the points update on the leaderboard, which is great. So I hope that we're able to get a lot more people qualifying for it.
I think locals are a really cool way also just to get involved with the PvP scene to begin with. I mean, like you said, like if you go to a regional, people will help you build a team. And I think that that's probably true with the locals as well. The hard part for me is like, again, unless you know about PvP with Pokemon Go, there's like not really a strong way to get involved. And so I'm just hoping as like things continue to grow, because I mean, we are in our infancy. This is only our, 3rd technical year, I guess. I mean, that hopefully within the next year or a couple years times, it's only going to grow because there's going to be more things that are,
I agree. Yeah, I hope so as well, because I remember the first Melbourne regionals, and there was like an in-game notification of like, hey, go and register and go and check out this regional. It's coming up this week. And there was an influx of people signing up, and it finished off that, the registration, like, the spaces sort of thing. And then since then, I don't know if there has really been, like, I've only seen that recent one pop up in game being like, hey, there's local tournaments. I don't know if I'm assuming maybe it was like an Oceania exclusive one because it was pushed in game for us. Maybe it was for you guys too. That was like 2 weeks ago. But I wish, there was more of those, especially even for regionals. Like, even if someone didn't go to compete or didn't want to spectate, at least they would be told that there's something happening in their area. Hey, go and catch some Pokemon. And by way of being there, you're going to see people that are, competing, whatever else. You're going to notice the spawns are all PvP Pokemon. It's like, I've heard about people using these for PvP. And like, at least that's kind of getting you a bit closer to, like, I was just more communication, I guess, about it. Right. Because it is very insular. Like, if you're already in those Discord groups or, whatever other chats and stuff that people have going on for their PvP communities, how does anyone else know that exists? Because you could be super wanting to get into it, but how do you even know it exists to get into it if you don't meet in person? Even, I guess, from these local events, one of the first ones that we had for Australia, like, someone shared a little group photo in the PvP Oceania one. And it's like, I'm like, here's like 4 people I've never seen before. Because you see all the usual suspects at the regionals. And I'm like, I've never seen these 4 people before, and 2 of them placed in like the top 5. And I'm like, oh. And then you see like, so-and-so joined the Discord. So-and-so joined the Discord. So it's like, obviously someone said like, hey, are you in the Discord yet? No. Chuck them in. It's like, yay, more people. Let's like, get it growing. But yeah, definitely there's there's a gap there as well for getting people to know where to be.
Spreading like the awareness, right?
Yeah, because then it's like there's access to people that you might have met at the local event, but now you've got access to a server with 100 other people. You'd be like, hey, can I practice some battles with people? Or, hey, this Pokemon isn't working out for me. What can I do? Am I playing it wrong? I want this thing to work. How can I get to be supported better? Like, you have that wealth of knowledge to ask other people. But yeah, if you're not able to know where it is or how to get in there, like, yeah, it's going to be rough. I hope that the local events help a lot with that as well, for just bringing people, into the community more. Fingers crossed.
I hope there will be some sort of line that connects, like, in game. If you don't have any affiliation with a lot of PvP at all, servers X, or the Play Pokemon website even, that somehow there will be a way to find them nearby. Because if you don't know any of it, like, I might just be. I'm pretty sure if I go to my local Telegram group and I ask someone, are there local events, I will definitely get a few questions. What are those? And I don't blame them, because you don't hear anything at all about them in the game itself, right? All right, I want to go into a very exciting topic with you, Zoe.
Yes.
The European International Championship. You are on the team.
I know.
How do you feel about that?
I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. I'm about 5% nervous. Very, very excited.
Only 5%.
Let's go 10%. Why not 10%? Just for just to get, in case, I've got to make sure the terminology is right. Got to make sure I don't know. It's like, I think when there's an unknown, I'm like, if I know what's going on, happy days, I'm fine. I like to improvise. We can roll with it. But when it's something that's like, don't call Pikachu he, and here's we're cutting now to this interview, and it's like, how'd that go, mate? Chip, how you doing, Chip? Like, it's like certain things where it's like, what's the done procedure? And then once I know what the baseline is, we're good. Like, I've been obviously watching previous broadcasts and stuff. I'm like, I'm sure it's going to be fine, but I just want to know exactly all of the parameters, and then I'll be funky fresh. But it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be good. I'm excited though. Very excited. I get to buy a pantsuit, I guess little jazzy suit, look flashy with a little blazer, It's all happening. For London, I have, but literally only for London Worlds.
Okay.
So it was another really fast trip where it was like I landed, I like teleported to the hotel that was near the Excel Center. It was the 4 days of like boom, 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 boom Worlds, and then flew out on the Monday. So it's going to be pretty much the same again for this trip. So it's going to be the most I've seen of like London City is in the taxi on the way back to the airport. And I'm like, oh, there's Big Ben. Hey.
And there
it goes. And there he goes. So, there's the London Eye. Oh, looks really nice. It's gone. Okay. Like, so maybe hopefully this time, like speed run, like get a day in the city. But yeah.
Are you not worried of being jet lagged?
Oh, always. But I've got like a whole 22-hour flight to try and sort that out in advance, So
that is crazy to me.
22. Wait, how long did you say?
22-hour flight.
That's miserable.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's the direct as well. That's like the stopping to fuel up in Singapore and not even getting off the plane one. Yeah. Pray for Mojo. Send vibes. And it's on my birthday as well. I'm going to be stuck on a plane.
It's on your birthday?
Hours. Pretty much, yeah. I land on my birthday.
Oh, man. We'll have to make sure there's a cake there for you. Not only for your birthday, but also just to give you some energy.
Just to have some cake. But yeah, it's like, it's so far away. It is what it is. But like, thankfully, I kind of like the way that after the first international trip where I had like the worst jet lag ever, I'm like, how can I have this not happen where I feel like a pirate captain for the first 2 days? I'm just like, my head is bobbing. So pretty much as soon as I leave the house for like getting to the airport on the first day, whatever time it is in my destination country, I'm like role playing, I'm LARPing as a Londoner. Like as if I leave the door and it's supposed to be 2 a.m. in the car on the way to the airport, I'm like going to be a bit late, just kind of, being low key, not getting too active. Like as soon as I'm on the plane, if it's supposed to be nighttime, eyes shut, put the podcast on or whatever else. And just like, even if I can't sleep, I'm pretending it's nighttime and I'm pretending I'm asleep. And it's like, all right, I've got a little set or something, or to, it's now 7 a.m. London time. It's not 7 a.m. your time anymore, so this is going to feel rough, but time to stay awake for the next, 12-hour portion of this flight. And then, at least it lands early in the morning, so ideally just sleep as much as I can for the last bit of it to kind of start forcing that time zone clock. The first day is going to be rough. It always is, but we'll be all right.
I say you're a better person than me. I mean, I'm sometimes have to go back to Atlanta this year, and I was like, it took me 2 days. I woke up at 4 o'clock. I'm like, well, now I'm up.
Well, here I am. Oh no. So I try my best. London was rough last year though, because it was such a fast turnaround of a trip, and every day there was something going on. So I think this day I've got like an extra, like the Wednesday I land. So I don't think there's technically anything on the Wednesday. Wednesday or Tuesday?
We're good Wednesday.
Yeah. But yeah. So I just have to stay awake until at least 7 p.m. and then I've made it.
Well, hopefully you have some time to. I mean, London is a cool city that you can maybe go explore a little bit, because the Excel Center is like not close to anything besides the Excel
that's kind of
Center.
rough.
So it's like that's a bummer. If you really want to go out and see anything, you have to either take the metro or go take a taxi or something.
Yeah.
But
we'll make it work.
Yeah.
We'll see something this time.
I think it's like a 10-hour difference, right, with London? Are you in GMT plus 10?
Plus 10 or plus 11, I think, at the moment because of daylight savings. Let's have a look.
Oh, that's already for you as well?
Our daylight savings started like, but when did summer start for us? Like September, October or something? It's going to basically time. The time always goes back on my birthday as well, the week of my birthday. So daylight savings will end also the week for EUIC.
Okay.
But let's see, London time right now is 9 p.m. and it's 8:45 a.m. right now for me.
Cool.
Okay.
I'll survive. I'll make it work. I'll just start doing degen hours at home in the lead up for it.
Yeah,
that's smart. That's actually what you should.
Actually, what I do for when I go to the US, like I try to stay up as late as possible.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Have you ever done something like this before, like host a show?
Not on this level of production. No, I don't think so. That I can recall. Like, I guess I've always been, someone who doesn't shut up. I speak a lot. I preferred, the school assignments where it's like give a speech versus write an essay sort of thing. So I'm very much a talky, presenty, like I like, drama class and all that sort of jazz. So I feel like I gravitate more towards that sort of stuff. So looking forward to it, but this is probably going to be the first that I can think of, like the first big production type thing. Because I've done stuff where it's like pre-recorded, where it's like, okay, you've got to deliver, read from the teleprompter, deliver this script for, like education material and stuff like that, but like not, Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be good.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
Yeah.
But now you guys are making, I have even more FOMO here that you guys are going to get to hang out and
I've asked you a million times, Amanda. I begged you. I went on my knees after
I was
you
catching all these chatot for you as well, in case you needed the lucky one.
I finished the Lucky Ducks for it, but I still need a hundo. So I mean, I also want I need the Kangaskhan. So I mean, you have to
so many just waiting.
Yes.
If you were in London, we could arrange a trip.
By the way, Amanda. Ryanair, it's not expensive.
That's true. Yeah, once I land in Atlanta, I'll just turn around right away again.
Oh, you're in Atlanta then already. That's rough.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I see the issue.
But yeah, I'm excited for both of your debuts, sort of. I mean, not Martin, not that you're a debut caster, but it's your first IC. This is really cool. I think for Europe as a whole. I think.
Yeah. Thanks.
I'm actually pretty nervous for it.
I don't think you should be. 10% nervous?
5%?
It's different, I feel like, already with what I've seen so far with the European group we had so far, right? So, I don't know. It'll be fine. We'll make it work. But, there's always that...
The expectation of, like, the players and that sort of thing of like playing the meta differently, and that's intimidating as
Oh
like
no, absolutely
casting,
not.
or
No,
do you
oh
mean
no.
like, or do you mean like just the whole production side's a bit different this year or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
No, the
cool.
players they do what they do. That pressure's for them. That's not
Yeah.
my pressure.
No. Yeah. You're like, oh my
But
god, they've changed the whole meta. Everyone's just got magic carpet. I don't know what's going on.
no, that'll be fine. That I'm
Yeah.
not worried about. But obviously, like for every show, I want to do it perfect. So
Yeah.
there's just always that kind of small pressure. I do find less pressure in casting than in playing. So I guess I have that going for me.
Says the man who just won the most recent event for Europe. So yeah. Oh, I feel so much pressure playing the game as I go on.
It's only fun if you win.
As I go on a 14-0 streak from the losers bracket to
17,
win. 17 game streak.
It's fun when you lose too. Not just because I had a well one, but
depends on how early that is.
Yeah. So actually, speaking of productions and stuff, Zoe, I do have a question, not necessarily about EUIC, but since you're kind of in this fold, would you consider doing like what Trainer Tips did for Go Battle League Day? Like on Twitch, doing that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Are you hoping that there's more of these going on? Because I'm also hoping that maybe these can align as they go along.
I think that'd be great as well if they went along, because I do think that kind of fills one of those roles we were talking about earlier of like getting more information to people that are curious about it, and just kind of like it's a fun, low stakes, more, I guess, community involvement sort of way where it's like, hey, you're going to build this team, here's me doing these battles, like explaining what's going on along the way in a lot more accessible way. Because I think, again, if someone was totally new and they were watching a broadcast and it's like there's so much going on and there's the excitement and they're like, and here comes the shield and the like the terminology for the energy, the charge move priorities and things like that, where it's like, okay, I'm hearing the word, but what does it mean? But then to have those like the Go Battle days where it's more, I guess, you're going to explain what those words mean and why it's relevant and how to use it, sort of thing. I think it's great. Like 2 thumbs up, yes, please, more than that. Like it's in no way a negative. So even if it's neutral, that's a positive because someone's still getting something out of it. Someone's going to learn a little bit extra. Someone's going to maybe just tune in because they're like, oh, it's Trainer Tips. I love Trainer Tips. Like they might not even have never even done a single battle, but because they see someone they like doing something entertaining, they're watching and they're participating and they're like, oh, I'm engaged in this. I'm interested. Tell me more. Like I see no downside really. So yes, 1,000%. It would help me redeem the time that I accidentally evolved like my rank 1 PvP Dusklops into Dusk Noir instead of powering it up. Because that's like the one clip that just gets repeatedly shared from like live streams. So if I can redeem myself on a different live stream, that'd be great. That was brutal.
I did that with the Frostlass, but not evolved it. I wasn't paying attention, and I just evolved it one above the 1500 cap, and I was like, no! It's like, you press the confirm. I was like, no. But it was before it let you know, like, oh, this is above the cap, where you could see where it went. So I was like,
That's brutal.
It was sad. I have multiple Frostlass now at this point, but it was earlier on, when PvP was more of a new thing, and I'm like trying to build up Pokemon. I'm always Stardust poor because every time there was a new grassroots tournament, it was this new off-meta Pokemon I've never seen before. And Martine makes fun of me a lot because Pokemon Go is my first Pokemon game. So a lot of times I was looking, I was like, what is, even when something new comes out, I'm like, oh, look at this thing.
Yeah. What
is its name?
What are you?
Hold up. You mentioned this first on the Turin stream. I didn't even know. You exposed yourself.
That's true. Other people had known it.
I'm just holding it against you.
You had known, but yeah.
I'm not holding it. You're casting, and that's like, this is your first ever Pokemon game. I'm like, damn, you are pretty bloody high.
I was talking with the TCG casters, and they're like, what? They're like, how have you never played any of these games before? I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I blame my parents. Yeah. They got me a Game Boy. Like, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's cool though. But I mean, like, that's just, I think that just proves the power of Pokemon though. It's like this can be your first game, and it's like you're in. You're like, I love these, you know, these characters and these like this world and this community sort of thing, to the point where you're kicking butt casting events and stuff. Like, I think it's really cool. I like that. I like that it's like, you know, I think for the majority, not gatekeepy. You know, every single Pokemon is someone's favorite. Everyone started somewhere and has their own like journey with Pokemon. So it's like, even joining as an adult, it's kind of like, cool, I'm here, I'm having fun. Like, it's great.
Yeah. Speaking of favorite partner Pokemon, what was your pick when you first started the game?
Oh, for like starter? Like proper starter? Charmander.
Okay, yeah.
Charmander. The correct choice, technically, you know, but as well. I won't hold it against anyone else. Look, first gen is hard, you know. As a kid, I feel like you're very much like, this is the only right choice, and my Charmander is way better than. Then as an adult, I'm like, these are all phenomenal designs. Like, these are all really, really good. Like, looking back, I'm like, I could happily, if I got randomly selected one of these, I'd be happy. Like, they're all really, really good. Cute. I think,
I picked Squirtle.
Cute. Oh,
I still have him too. It's my first one, and I haven't powered him up or touched him at all, but he's still in my Pokédex.
My original, for Go, my starter was Bulbasaur, because Australia got it a day early, so I didn't know about the whole like walking a little bit to find other ones. And I was like, oh, I guess you get assigned. You get assigned your guy. Okay, I pick. Hello, Bulbasaur. It accidentally got transferred when mass transfer came out.
Oh, no.
It just wasn't favorited, and I learnt the hard way about using that favorite as a child lock, basically, for goofy mistakes. So Bulbasaur's off in a field somewhere, and it becoming a starter for someone else, you know, reintroduced into the wild, and some child is going to take them on a nice little adventure.
Meanwhile, you have all those delicious Bulbasaur candy from
No.
I remember the first time I evolved Bulbasaur into the Venusaur. Again, this is not a dig on Venusaur, but I guess it kind of is. I was like, ew. Oh. I was like, I wanted to go back. Like, I was like, why do they get like not as like why do they get uglier as they get bigger? Like, it's like puppies, you know. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I want a petition for like one evolutionary line that just gets like ridiculously cuter with every evolution. Like, just to flip instead of like, I've grown up, it's like, no, I'm staying baby. Thank you.
Getting little and smaller.
Yeah. But just like infinitely stronger. It's like this little blob, but it's just an absolute unit.
All right.
Excellent.
Before I want to lead into our final question, I have one personal question to you. The bow that you have is kind of how do I say it? A signature thing to you. Where does it come from?
It basically, like, pretty much, I don't know if it's the same for Europe as well, but like, do you guys have school uniforms? Everyone's got to wear the school uniform.
Well,
so
sometimes.
Mostly, yeah. Like, same thing for Australia, like most schools, school uniform sort of thing. And then depending on what school you go to, you know, there's going to be different strictnesses of like, you can't color your hair, or like, you know, the socks have to be the ankle length, white, whatever. Like, and some schools don't care. They're like, wear whatever socks with the uniform sort of thing. So for our school, it was pretty relaxed on like the accessories side of things, like, you know, bracelets or necklaces or hair accessories, whatever, go for it, champion. So I think it kind of started with that in high school, where it was like, you know, everyone's kind of conforming to this one, you know, uniformed look. So everyone had like a little something different, like might wear, you know, different socks in a different way, or, you know, always wear like a big headband or whatever. So the bows kind of started there, where I was just like, this is my little bit of color, my little bit of something to kind of wear. And then I guess never really stopped. Just feels like very much part of my brain. Like,
I think you have to, right? You have to wear it at USC.
I know. That's what I'm hoping. I'm like, hopefully that's you know, permissible, right? I'm going to try and actually make, because this has been like the shape of this bow I've really quite liked lately. But I can't find like bows this size and shape anywhere these days. It's always either just flat headbands or like they sit flat, and I'm like, no, what's going on? Like this? Why is it so hard? It's like a mission. So I'm going to probably actually try and make like a few more. So we'll get some fresh bows debut for EUIC, you know, hopefully, if I can find the right material. But yeah, it's just kind of like become part of the look, I guess. Also means I can go undercover if I take it off. Genuinely.
Of course, no one would recognize. It's like Superman and the glasses, right?
Genuinely, yes. Like Clark Kent was a genius. Everyone's always saying like, "Oh, who wouldn't recognize you with your sunglasses off?" I was at a Go Fest, like the Chicago Go Fest, and it was too windy. So I had the big red bow and it was just getting blown off. So I just put it in my bag. I'm like, I'll put it in the bag and I'll get to this point I need to get to in the park. Not a single person was like, "Hey, Zoe." As soon as I got into like the park bit where I was waiting for, and I was like, okay, the wind's died down, like put that thing on. 5 minutes later, it's like, it's
a target, yeah.
Like genuinely, I'm like, oh my God, Superman was onto it. Like it's true. It works.
Yeah. Now I'm bummed. I mean, I've been in the same place as you now at 2 locations for sure, because I was at Worlds also in London, and I was also at the Chicago Go Fest. But we just ships in the night, Zoe.
It's just, just sailing past each other constantly.
Well,
we'll make it work.
Hopefully, within this year, next year, I feel like we'll meet up.
Because you were casting at Last Worlds as well, weren't you?
No, I was doing a subject matter expert, so I was helping out behind the scenes with the production of it and everything.
Okay. Worlds London, yes, though you were casting.
I was.
No, okay. Where did I see you casting? I swear, like you were in the middle of something, but you're like doing the talking, and I'm like, not that you really get lights on you though.
Was it?
Maybe I'm thinking. I don't know.
Don't remember.
Unless it was if you were behind the scenes. If I just saw you somewhere behind the scenes,
that also
at
maybe
Worlds, like you would have been somewhere that's possibly roped off, and I'm like, oh, there you are in the distance, and I'm like. I'll see you later. So I never lines up. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
But no, we'll put a date in the calendar. I was hoping that you would be at LAIC. I know that we kind of talked about it earlier, but it just didn't work out because I think you had another event that you were at around that time as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure for LAIC. I think that one was more just like a I didn't get called up, I guess, for that one.
Or something?
But sorry, LAIC, yes. What was it? I think there was.
I think it was a Safari Zone. Yeah, that's
right? Yeah. Yes, I think so because it was last year's one. Like I think Korea.
Yeah,
was around the same time. I think it was like I had just gotten back from Korea, and it was like I can't like do the extra. Like yeah. As a lot of the time, it's like if I'm over that side of the world. And the other thing is happening. And it's like, okay, I can kind of like extend like myself and, you know, but yeah, I'd love to be able to get out to more of them for sure.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to have you. We're excited to have you at EUIC. And on that note too, we will go to the ending question because it is about PvP and maybe some of these players might be at the EUIC as well. But Zoe, we have a 2-part question to end this, and it is about Brawlers and Machampions. So the first part is like, who is someone in the PvP community you would consider a Brawler? And this is someone who is like maybe not super well known within PvP, but they have a lot of skill and you could see them going really far. And then the other is who is a Machampion in your eyes? And this is someone who's probably pretty well established and you think could maybe even win Worlds.
Okay, so I had to think about this. So for my Brawler, and it's hard to know like who I guess is well known necessarily in the online space because I feel like again the PvP community is very intertwined. So this is no disrespect if they are well known, and I'm saying it the wrong way out of turn, but I want to pick Rocket Claire. They are so phenomenally skilled. I met Claire back at the first Melbourne Regionals, I'm pretty sure. And that one was such a rough bracket for everyone because it was just like the first round was, I think it was just one and done. Like I can't remember if it was like immediately one and done or like the first 2 as standard sort of thing. But I have a feeling that it was kind of like immediately one and done. And a lot of people didn't get to like show their, you know, like battle their way through. And then I haven't really seen them. I mean, they're still definitely doing stuff online, but hadn't seen them in person until the Melbourne again. Yeah, this Melbourne most recent one, and absolutely just like slayed their way through the competition. Like phenomenal battles, like such an interesting player to watch play as well. Again, the creep camera with me, like seeing too much of people's hands, like seeing the intensity of taps when it's like, I'm like, oh my God, she's got this and she knows she's got this, let's go. And she's just like hammering the screen for like knowing exactly what's play is coming up to like send this charge move. She knows that they're going to like try and sack swap in. So like there's that, I know and I'm watching you and they waited for it sort of thing. It's like phenomenal. So phenomenal. Top 4, I believe. Like just so skilled, and I think maybe because people haven't played face to face, won't know what to expect sort of thing. I hope that she just keeps crushing it. I know I think Tasmania's got some of their locals coming up, which again I hope, because for players in Tasmania it's like I guess another expense to go to the regionals. Perth is coming up, but that's again probably one of the furthest distances you can go from like Tasmania to Perth is massive. So I hope that they're able to get the points and just come through and make waves for Worlds. Such a cool person, great player. And then I would say for my champion, can I pick more than one? Is that okay? Or are
you can pick me and another.
So here's like I'm torn between, and you guys like mentioned them just by chance. The fact that their names popped up in this already is kind of funny. But my champions again, I feel like are a tie between Jakobovic, Rick Flareon, and Valiant Vish. Like they are. I keep calling them like the usual suspects. You see them at all of the regionals. Like they've been to Worlds multiple times now, I'm pretty sure. Like I think like they've all qualified more than once. Like, and again, they all have such different play styles in a way. Again, for like the note taking versus no notes at all versus like the really, not like aggressive, like this, like they're really like I'm going in and we're gonna like adapt on the fly to the I'm thinking about every scenario in advance sort of thing. Like they are just 3 phenomenally skilled players. And I think depending how the cards land for who they end up versing, I would love to see any of those 4, honestly. I would love to see any Aussie. Let's go Australians, take it home, like do it. But I think they have some crazy skills, and I would love to see all of them up on the stage in Hawaii. So fingers crossed. And they're all lovely as well. They all have fantastic attitudes, great sense of humor, super lovely people. Like there's not a time where it's like, when I've been competing and making goofy teams and I'm like, Vish, how do I win? And he's like, all right. So like genuinely starts to give me advice. And I'm like, it's a joke. I've got a Welma and I have not practiced a single match. Like it's for a joke video. It's fine. But he's like in earnest going to help, like to tell me, give me some tips. He's like, okay, so, to round out this team. And I'm like, it's fine, dude. I'm just messing with you. Like, but yeah, just some really lovely guys. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I hung
they're
out with some of them at in Japan.
Same.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I want to see secretly. I want to see Claire to just sweep. Go Claire.
Yeah.
Do it. No pressure, by the way, Claire. But yeah. She's
been around a while. She's pretty good,
Yeah.
But I agree that it's nice that she's getting some recognition. That
yes,
I think actually she's a perfect example of a career brawler. So well done, Zoe.
Yeah, because I think it's like someone who's definitely been. I think she's been around, but like again, I don't know who internationally. Who knows who? Because again, tight knit community.
Yep.
But I feel like definitely someone who could just kind of like slingshot, where it's like you have been so amazing. Like let's get the accolades, get the big claps, that you deserve. So. Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, Zoe, for your time, for coming on. I appreciate it. And on a personal note, I am very much looking forward to working with you at EYC.
Likewise, man. Thank you guys. Thank you both for having me on, and I'm stoked. I'm looking forward to EIC so much.
Yeah. I'll be crying watching you guys, but my heart will be with you. A quick reminder for everyone listening in: it is the first weekend in April. That is the EIC. You can watch it online on Twitch or on YouTube, and new episodes of Tap Tap Cast are out every Thursday. Thanks for listening to this one. We will catch you guys in the next. Bye.
Bye.